Extreme Collectibles here with an older piece. One might say it's from the Old Republic. See what I did there? I just got this piece in while I was on vacation. I have no idea when this is going to air, but if you haven't caught up or stayed caught up on my channel, I'm getting a whole bunch of Star Wars villains in, and I actually think I'm going to do a playlist of just Star Wars villains, so he'll be an episode on that. Most of them have already aired, so if you want to see them, go check them out. Darth Maul, Darth Vader, Kylo Ren, and XM Boba Fett, which I don't think I've aired at this time, Jabba the Hutt, and then I have a custom Darth Revan coming in, and I also want the Gamorrean Guard, but that's even more expensive than this. But let's dive right into this evil Sith Lord. I think he's a Sith. I called Kylo a Sith, and someone yelled at me. Extreme Collectibles here with Darth Malgus by Sideshow. This is the premium format. This is the collector's edition. There are two different editions. One is the collector's edition, which they made a run of 1,000. The other is the exclusive edition, which I didn't care for it. It has this unmasked switch out head right here. And to kind of give you comparison, this is the collector's head with the masked version, which personally I think is much, much better. So there were 500 of the exclusive, and there were 1,000 of the collector's edition here. The original retail was about $375, and it goes for two or more than that, about 3 to 4 times that now. The exclusive edition usually runs for about 13 plus hundred. I was able to get him 900 shipped, which was nice. I was told the lightsaber is broken, however I can't even test it because the guy didn't send the AC adapter, so I need to reach out to him. AC adapter plugs right in the back, and then there's a button that'll turn on the lightsaber. It'll turn on some of his panel lights. I'm sure I could find a substitute AC adapter. Base was one piece. It was a fairly small box for a larger premium format. Darth Malgus himself is one piece. His shoulder blades are another piece, and the lightsaber is another, and of course his head. One of the things about this with his cape, which obviously is a separate piece, it actually has metal in it, so it could stick by itself without the shoulder pads in place. Plates, shoulder plates. Remember in the 80s when women wore those big shoulder... This shirt looks like I have shoulder pads on it. It does that when you hang it in the closet. I hang up all my t-shirts, which is weird. Actually, I don't. My wife does because she's very nice. But it looks good with and without, but I chose to display it without. And of course the hood, you can go up or down with it. But very, very interesting piece. If you don't know the lineage about Darth Malgus, he was actually in Empire Strikes Back. He was in the second installment of the original series as one of the main villains that Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi... I'm sorry. I was trying to be funny, and real true Star Wars fans would just be pissed as hell. Obviously, none of that's true if you didn't know that. Darth Malgus is not in any of the movies. Hopefully he will be someday. I don't really know a lot about Darth Malgus. I haven't been with the literature of Star Wars for about 20 years. So maybe somebody can give a little bit of background for the other people that read the comments. I just know that he looks badass, and he's going to add to my Sith line, again, if he is a Sith. But really just talk about the concept and design. So obviously he's an evil Dark Lord, and he's in a museum pose on a base that's kind of interesting. And when we talk about sculpt and design, we'll get closer in looking at it. But it almost looks like a metallic base. It reminds me a lot of Bespin, the Cloud City. So almost where Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back had their first battle. But he's standing there in a museum pose, but it's a battle pose. So it's not dynamic, but you can definitely tell he's going into or he's in battle. His right hand has his lightsaber ready to go, his red lightsaber indicative of an evil person within the Star Wars realm. His left hand almost looks like he's either dancing or he's doing the Star Wars choke force. With that You know, it's funny. My 7-year-old said to me when we were unboxing this, he always wants to know if someone's more powerful than Darth Vader. And I always tell him Darth Vader is the most powerful person in the Star Wars universe. And I may be wrong, but that's my opinion. And my son, this is one of those proud parenting moments. He goes, yes, because Darth Vader, when he was talking to someone and he got mad, he choked him through the TV. So just for my 7-year-old son to remember that scene, just breaks my heart. Anyway, so he's maybe choking somebody while he's going to battle. He's got his full body armor on. He's got his hooded cape. He's got his mask on. Very cool pose. And I think not only because this character is rarely done, but I think the pose, and we're going to get into the sculpt and the paint, is just fabulous on this guy, which is why he flips for 3 to 4 times the original price. And speaking of the paint and sculpt, just starting at the base, so the sides of this base is this black metallic base, not really a big deal, but the flooring on it looks like a grate in the middle, which it could be a copper metallic grate, or it almost looks like bamboo metal flooring. I know there's no such thing as bamboo metal flooring, but it's kind of a mix between the two. And then starting on Malgus himself, his boots look really cool. So first of all, there's some good metallic plates, some armored plates on the front and the back of them that show some good wear. But then you see the textured boot itself with a very cool looking zipper that actually looks real. It looks like it's a real zipper, but it is sculpted. Everything except the cape and hood is sculpted on this. Then his shin pads, his armor plates, both on his knee, which is held in by a really cool looking strap, and then his shin pads on the front have all this battle damage. And the paint on all this is really good for a production piece. It really pops. I think they use the right colors of the blacks and the silvers, and it doesn't look too black, and it's not too boring. Then moving up to his thighs, on the inner part of his thighs, he has this sculpted suit with, again, some pads on the outside, maybe protective pads. Who knows what they're there for, but it looks really cool. And then his package, he has protected. He's a very smart man. He has it protected with metal. Almost part of his outside underwear and his belt almost look like they're connected. And again, there's this scarring tissue all over it, as he's seen many, many battles. I think they could have done a little bit more with the belt. Maybe some different shades, or just some more detail in the sculpt. His torso, again, looks really, really cool. It has that same padding that's on the outside of his thighs, and then the suit texture that's on the inside of his thighs. I think they did a okay job, again, with his control panel and his armor on his upper torso. The colors look great. They could have done a little bit more detail. But one thing to keep in mind, this is an older piece, and for the most part, not always, but for the most part, they're getting better and better at the newer pieces. And of course, there's exceptions, because there's some older pieces that are classic that just will not ever be beat. With that being said, moving to his gauntlets on his arms that also have, some electronic controls. These look really good. I love the detail. There's buttons and dials and almost like a voice panel on top of the armor. And I think if they had implemented some of this into his belt and his upper armor on his chest torso, or his torso, it would have been much, much better. And then really cool sculpt on his gloves. Not only his open hand looks really good, there's a lot of folds and padding on there, but on his lightsaber hand that he's holding, which his lightsaber hand also has those same control panel on his gauntlet. And then his lightsaber looks okay. Mine's broken, and I plan on sending it to the lightsaber doctor anyway. Then his shoulder pads, again, very similar to the pads on the front of his knees and his shins. There's a little less wear, but there's some cool wear, not only around the edges, but scratches on them. The cape itself is okay material. There's no wires in it, so you can't, bend it. There is a wire on the hood, but that's it. So it kind of flows as is, but I like it like that. I don't really think it'd be flowing in the wind, because he is very static in his pose. And then moving on to his head, this is where it's phenomenal. First, his mask, again, very similar to his wrist gauntlets. A lot of detail in there, a lot of cool colors popping from the blacks and the silvers and the reds. And I love the detail that they put into there. And then his portrait is just awesome. So first, there's this blue veinage that's coming out all over his head, and the paint job just pops with the skin tones. And then it's a different color of skin tone near his mouth. red. Oh, you know, reminds you a lot of the unmasked Darth Vader. And his eyes, evil eyes with some really cool purple coloring around them. And the sculpt itself, just on the overall portrait, I love the definition, I love the lines, I love the coloring. There's almost a graininess all over his head. His portrait is just absolutely killer. So those are my thoughts on Darth Malgus right here. I think he's an excellent piece. I can't wait to just put him over with the rest of my Jedi guys, which I'm going to do as soon as I'm done filming this. So really appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoy this, please give me a like. Please subscribe, hit that bell so I can make more money. I'm very poor because I buy too many statues. So really appreciate you watching. Take care.